Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Man, oh man. I hate to do this. I hate to do this. Not make a video talking trash about Florida. I love to do that. I hate to do this. I had to make some notes for this video today. I hate that. I like to just pick this thing up and start yelling into it, but some of this stuff I looked up this morning and found out, well, actually starting yesterday and today, is just so damn disturbing. I had to write some of it down to make sure I don't forget any of it. The Florida Gators are on a dumpster fire before Billy Napier has ever even coached a game there. There's going to be fans that show up, Florida fans that show up in the comment section of this video to tell me I'm crazy and to defend Billy Napier, and I don't blame you. That's what fans do when someone talks about their team. I spent some time yesterday and this morning on some Florida Gator message boards, though, so I know what you're saying when you think nobody is looking. Yeah. See, fans act differently when they're talking, or they think they're talking or typing, just to fans of their own team, right? That's where they're the most honest. That's where you find out what fans really think. Some people make fun of me sometimes when they find me on Facebook because I follow a lot of different pages. Like I think I follow a bunch of Florida pages and a bunch of South Carolina and Tennessee, tons of teams. I follow tons of teams, message boards and pages on Facebook and things like that. And, oh, I knew Georgia. I knew Lou was a fake Georgia fan. Look at him. Look at him. Just look at him. He follows an LSU page. Yeah, I follow almost every team's pages, fan pages especially, because that's where you can really find out what the fans are thinking. And the Florida fans are worried. Where do we even start here? Well, let's start with Demarcus Bowman. 5-star running back out of high school, signs with Clemson, plays there for one season, transfers to Florida. And I believe he was at Florida last year, too. Was it? Yeah, he was at Florida last year, wasn't he? Didn't do much, but still, 5-star running back. He's had enough of Billy Napier already. Went through spring practice. Here we are, the end of June. This dude's done entered the transfer portal. Now, keep in mind, this will be his second time entering the portal, so that alone disqualifies him for immediate eligibility. But also, it's after the deadline. The way the transfer portal works now, if you transfer out after May 31st, you don't get immediate eligibility. So he's got 2 strikes against him in terms of being able to play this year. In other words, he's not going to be able to play this season. He doesn't care. He wanted out so bad, he's gone. And Florida fans are going to say, we don't need him because we have this guy and that guy. You're lying. Like I said, I've seen the comments Florida fans have made when they think no one's looking except Florida fans. It's not. Florida doesn't have 15, 25 stars on the team where they can afford to just lose some, okay? They don't. They just don't. And besides that, even if you quote-unquote don't even need him, it's the optics. It's the way it looks. You have a 5-star player transferring out of your program in June, making him ineligible to play this year, when you have a coach that just got there and hasn't even coached a game. It's not a good look. It's not a good look for other people considering transferring there. It's not a good look for recruits considering going there. You know, they're sitting around going, why is this guy leaving? It's just strange. It's just strange, and it's not good. It's not good at all. Now, there's so many things I want to get to here. Well, let me start with this. Let me start with this letter that Billy Napier put out. I guess it was yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy and proud to announce to you that one of the SEC's biggest problems over the last 3 or 4 years has now been solved. The loss of Butch Jones at Tennessee was a huge loss for the SEC as a whole. Not the teams, the fans. Butch Jones was nonstop entertainment. We have ourselves another Butch Jones here with Billy Napier. This guy's not a football coach. He's a life coach. He's a life coach. He sends a letter out. Now, at least it seems to me, and if I can remember, I'll post a link down below to the entire letter. You can go read it for yourself if you haven't already seen it. There was a couple of different points to the letter, in my opinion. One of the points is basically he's on the street corner shaking his can. He's a homeless man on the street corner with a, we'll beg for recruits sign. We'll beg for money sign. He wants the boosters to give him money so he can go out and buy players. That's what it boils down to. That's a big part of what the letter is focused on. But listen to some of these phrases he uses throughout this letter. Developing relationships. These are things he's focused on. Developing relationships. Professional development. He's introducing something called the Gatorade program. Life champions down there. Gatorade program. This is a direct quote from Billy Napier's letter. Quote, holistic, player-focused, and purpose-driven initiative that seeks to develop Gators with the necessary skills to succeed in life. In other words, he's looking for 5-star hearts. 5-star hearts, life champions. He's looking for recruits that are willing to come down there and do mental reps. All the stuff that Lyle used to say, Butch Jones used to say at Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to announce it appears as though we have our next Butch Jones in the SEC. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. One thing he doesn't mention at all, and about half the letter is devoted to this Gatorade program. One thing he doesn't mention at all, recruiting. And this leads me back to the message boards situation. The Florida fans are up in arms. They are besides themselves. They are flabbergasted. And they are even more dumbfounded than they normally are. The recruiting at Florida right now is in the toilet. And people are going to say it's June. I agree. It is June. The final recruiting rankings are going to look a lot different than like they look now. So I'm not trying to suggest that they're not going to change or that Florida can't improve or that they can't drop down even. Of course, I know that. I follow recruiting enough to know that recruiting rankings in June are not set in stone. But they can be an indication of which way you're heading. I'm going to read off some things about Florida's recruiting. Florida is currently 40th in recruiting. Now, if you're 20th, yeah, you got a great chance to move up into the top 10, even the top 5. They're 40th right now in recruiting. That is terrible. That's terrible. How terrible is it? I'm going to name off a list of schools that are recruiting better than Florida right now. Right now. Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Northwestern, Arkansas, Minnesota, Louisville, West Virginia, TCU, Iowa, Boston College, Duke. Duke! In football! Nebraska, Colorado, Rutgers, Illinois, Arizona, the worst Power 5 program in America not named Vanderbilt. Arizona, SMU, Georgia Tech. Never mind what I said about Arizona. Arizona's the third. Vandy might be the worst, but Georgia Tech and Vandy are tied for the worst. Georgia Tech is out recruiting you. Georgia Tech's won a total of 9 games in the last 3 seasons. The best player Florida has committed right now is the 38th best player. Not in the nation. Not in the nation. The 38th best player in the state of Florida. That's the best player Florida has committed. The 38th best player in the state of Florida. You're the Florida Gators. The 38th best player in your own state is the best you can do right now. You have one player. One. And out of all the players you have committed, which ain't very many, out of all the players you have committed, you have a grand total of one player ranked inside the top 300 nationally. And is he ranked 5th or 10th or 20th? No, he's ranked 195th. That's the highest ranked player you have right now. The highest ranked player committed to the University of Florida is the 195th best high school athlete in America. These numbers all come from 24/7 Sports Composite Index. You got 0 5-star commits, not a single one. 3 4-stars, and 4 3-stars, which gets me back to the Butch Jones comparison. Tennessee was known as 3-star U. 3-star U. And every single 3-star player they signed, what did the Tennessee fans say? They're just underrated because they're coming to Tennessee. These recruiting services just hate them. No, they're 3 stars because, well, they're 3 stars. That's why. And don't even get me started on A.J. Harris. Florida was all in on this A.J. Harris, this high school cornerback. He committed last week. Not to Florida. Who did he commit to? You already know. You already know. To be fair, there is one player within the top 10 nationally. He's also a defensive back. He's also from the state of Florida. And it's widely considered that Florida is a possible landing spot for him. Cormani McClain. Again, I'm not a recruiting expert, so I had to look all this stuff up. And so if I'm getting the name wrong, I apologize. But I believe he's in the top 10 nationally, no matter who you want to look at. 24/7 Sports, ESPN, Scout.com, whatever. Any recruiting service you use, he's an elite high school defensive back. And Florida is considered to be in the mix, which is good news. Bad news, so is Georgia, so is Alabama, so is Miami, so is Arkansas. Those are considered as top 4 or 5 right now. It, of course, could change. This guy's not expected to commit anytime soon, by the way. His commitment will most likely drag out through the season. He's not one of these kids that's expected to commit over the summer. But Florida is at least still in on him. There's no other player in the top 100 that even has Florida currently listed in their top 5. And again, a lot of this could change between now and December. So the point of this video isn't to tell you that Florida's going to finish 40th in recruiting. The point of this video is to tell you, though, that Florida's recruiting is not going to be very much better this season than it was under Mullen, which was the Florida fans' biggest complaint, or one of the biggest complaints about Mullen, that he couldn't recruit, didn't want to recruit. It appears Billy Napier can't recruit either. And it could be because he's Lyle Jr., because he's Butch Jones Jr. He's out here with the snake oil salesman. He's a used car salesman. He's one of these preachers that holds Sunday service in a high school gym. This kind of guy. It could be, and the players just don't want to go. I don't know. Now, maybe if this letter that he wrote begging the boosters for money works, and the boosters send in a ton of money, who knows? Maybe Florida can trick a player or two into coming there. The problem is, if you're Florida, you're not a player or two away. You're just not. Look at the overall talent on the teams that are consistently finishing within the top 5 or the top 10, which is where Florida wants to be. Look at the overall, and look, yes, I know Florida had a great year 2 years ago. Lots of teams can have a great year every 4 or 5 years without recruiting in the top 10. Lots of teams. You can strike gold at the quarterback position, have a couple of elite playmakers. That's what happened with Florida under Dan Mullen. In that 1 year where they were decent and won the East, right? That can happen. Northwestern wins 10 games once every 4 or 5 years. Minnesota wins 10 games once every 4 or 5 years. Iowa State wins 10-plus games once every 4 or 5 years. You know how they do that? By recruiting in the 30s and 40s. That's how they do it. And by every 3 or 4 years, ending up with a team that's, senior heavy and maybe has 1 or 2 elite playmakers, and they're able to get to the 10 win. That's what Florida looks like right now. To consistently win the East, to consistently be in the top 5 or the top 10, to consistently be competing for playoff berths in November, Florida's got a long way to go. They are so far behind Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, and LSU overall in talent when it comes to recruiting in the SEC that it can't be exaggerated. And it wouldn't be funny, except for the fact that it's Florida, so therefore it's automatically funny. Billy Napier, I don't know, Group 5 guy. It's not working out. So I guess he's finding out that recruiting against Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State and LSU and Miami and FSU, I guess he's finding out that that's a lot harder than competing against directional schools and Tulane, and Louisiana Monroe and that kind of thing. I guess he's finding that out the hard way. But it's not looking good in Florida. The Florida fans know it. Again, they're not going to admit it in the comment section of this video because they know I'm a Georgia fan. And they know we do a lot of trash talking on this channel. So they're going to show up here with a bunch of excuses and defend Billy Napier. Because that's what fans do. You know what it's like? If you're a guy and you have a brother, right? Nobody can pick on him. Nobody can mess with him. That's your brother. Nobody can talk shit about him. No one can bully him. No one can push him around. No one can be mean to him. No one can make fun of him, right? But you can because that's your brother. Yeah, it's the same way with trash talking. It's okay to trash talk your team or be honest about your team or express your legitimate concerns about your team as long as nobody else is looking. But you can't do it here. In my comment section, you have to come with the lies and the excuses because there's a lot of people looking. But don't worry. Hey, I see you. I see you, Florida fans. I see you. I see you on Twitter. I see you on Facebook. Look, I'm in your little Florida groups. You just don't know. I just don't ever comment. As soon as I comment, they would know who I was and kick me out. I'm only in the groups so I can see what y'all really think, what you're really saying when you think Uncle Lou's not watching.